We had to combine classes for one reason or the other, and there weren't enough seats. So a friend of mine decided they're going to sit on their seat, sit on a plank of wood, and I was going to sit at the edge,
At the edge
of the plank.
of the plank of the wood.
Yes.
Okay.
So of course, at that point, she better not stand up for any reason. Because if she stands up,
right, you'll be ejected.
Yes, I'll be ejected. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, no.
In the middle of something, I don't know what excited us. And she jumped up, and your friend here, Veronica, was ejected like a cartoon. And I just came back crashing with legs open like this. And the boys and girls in the room just went like, red panties!
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
At 9 years old.
Yes. Red panties. This time I didn't know my mom on the other side had gone to make the bed and found a red spot.
Oh.
And was praying to the heavens and everything that existed.
Something else was
that it was a bite or a scratch or something. Yes. And for me, it was a bit of a tomboy. So this girly things, it was like, what is happening to me? It was, you can imagine, psychological trauma for me.
Hello, welcome to the Lioness Grotto podcast. My name is Anna Njoroge. In this podcast, we aim to share all things health, wellness, money, entrepreneurship, fashion, and beauty. All the things that affect our lives as women as we navigate to becoming our limitless selves. To know that you're not alone, we share, we encourage and motivate each other to become our best selves. After all, no one does it alone, and you don't have to experience everything in order for you to learn or for me to learn. In today's podcast, we are talking all things women's health, and to be more specific, polycystic ovary syndrome, known as PCOS. And today, we have an amazing, brilliant, beautiful woman, Veronica George, that has gone through life navigating PCOS. And because she's so brilliant, she's learned so much just to manage her life, done a lot of research, and the bold woman that she is talks to others, gynecologists, and other experts. And who better to give us the little nuggets that she has learned in this journey? Welcome, Veronica. And thank you so much for being here. I know very, very little about PCOS. I think I knew women had it, but I think you're the first person who actually explained it to me to where it made sense. So tell us who you are, why you're here today, and what we're going to talk about.
All right. Thank you, Anna, for having me today. It's a great pleasure, to be honest, to speak about polycystic ovarian syndrome, like you called it, PCOS. Huge issue with women, especially of color. It's the number one reason for infertility and also a big prerequisite for type 2 diabetes, which is something that most people don't actually know or understand. So it's a pleasure for me to speak about it. I've suffered with it for all my life, to be honest, right? Didn't know about it until later on in my life, that what I was going through was actually because of a condition that I had that had never been diagnosed before. Yeah, so for me, just to impact that knowledge on people is great. It's one of the biggest reasons that has led me to work in health, to build even a health technology platform called Health Center, just to solve this issue for women, and especially women of color like ourselves.
Right. So, Veronica, for those who do not know, what is PCOS?
So PCOS, long name for it, is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And just like the name says, it's basically where your ovaries have too many cysts. And the reasons for the cysts, it's basically because there's an imbalance in your hormones. Now, women have two main hormones, progesterone and estrogen.
Right.
Now, what happens with polycystic ovarian syndrome is that your insulin, which is the reason why we talk about type 2 diabetes,
Exactly.
is that your insulin is not being absorbed in your body. Okay, so where women are supposed to be producing estrogen more, you start producing androgens, male hormones, right? More than the female hormones. And because of that, your insulin levels rise and your body is not absorbing. So what happens? Lack of the proper hormones to produce or to make sure that your ovaries are growing in the the right way, right? Going through your fallopian tubes into your uterus, that is not happening because the hormone estrogen is reduced. Androgens are there instead. So where the ovary would turn into where the egg would turn into your actual producing egg that would go through the fallopian tubes, instead it turns into a cyst.
Oh.
That get attached. So it doesn't fully developed. So it lodges onto your ovary like a cyst.
So the egg is not fully developed and
Yes.
doesn't go through the process.
It doesn't go through the process
of the, ejecting.
Yes,
and all
of
of
ejecting
that.
through the fallopian tubes.
So it basically attaches
So
onto
it
the ovary
attaches
as a
onto the
cyst.
ovaries as a cyst.
I did not know that
Yes.
until I was doing the research for this. And I
Yes.
was like, wow.
Yeah.
So how does that manifest in a woman's life? Like, how does it show up and impact her life?
So one of the main symptoms is actually something that people don't know, is girls who get their period before the age of 12 are most likely to have polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh.
Yes, that's one
Okay.
thing. If you get a period too young, like I got it at 9 years old, you can imagine the shocker.
Yeah.
For my parents,
must-
especially my
wait,
mom. She was in distress. We'll
What is
talk about that in a
going
bit, but yes, she was in distress. So that's one of the things. The second thing is painful periods, right? And this makes it a bit of a problem because it also is a prerequisite or a condition for a symptom, for things like endometriosis, fibroids. So it's classed into the same group.
Right.
So most people don't even think about polycystic ovarian syndrome. They think maybe you might have fibroids or you might have endometriosis or something like that. Or in our culture, it's just painful periods. It's just a way of
and
life.
we just accept them.
Yes, and we just accept them.
How do you, because I have painful periods, not as painful to where they are debilitating, but how do you differentiate the two? Like it might be something more and not just painful periods.
So you cannot be able to do that
Okay.
unless now you seek a gynecologist help. You go to a gynecologist who can do the necessary tests, the lutein tests, it's called that, and get to a point where they can tell the difference of what you have. Another differentiator is a period as well.
Okay.
Because people with polycystic ovarian syndrome, remember the cysts, the eggs are not coming out. They're becoming cysts. So what happens? You don't get a period regularly.
Okay.
Because the egg is not going through the process, attaching, getting to the uterus. The egg is not, that process of being able to, shed the uterus lining, which is activated by the release of the egg, is not happening. So people with polycystic ovarian syndrome do not have regular periods.
So they are
Yes.
intermittent.
So they're intermittent.
Okay.
That planning of 28 days, 29 days, that is just laughable for somebody who has polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've actually gone an entire year
Without a period.
without a period.
Wow.
Yeah.
So according to World Health Organization, about 8 to 13% of women suffer from PCOS.
Yeah.
And what was shocking is 70% are undiagnosed.
Yeah.
And especially women of color.
Yes.
Why is that? Why are they such a big, huge population not diagnosed, or people with PCOS?
I think it's a cultural thing to start off with. It's accepted that to be a woman and to have a period is to be in pain. It's accepted.
True. We just accept it.
Yeah, we just accept it. So when you have a lot of pain, nobody is thinking that there must be something wrong or I need to go and see a gynecologist about this. So I'll just give you my story, just for you to have an example. I started my period when I was 9 years old. Didn't have pain of any sort then. But when I started getting to 12, I started getting excruciating pain. For me, it was just a by the way. I would not go to class for 2 days out of every month. Everybody knew. You can imagine how embarrassing it was, but everybody knew when my period started. I would not attend classes, number one. I would be in pain doubling over. My father had to be involved because of getting medication and all that. So you can imagine the whole thing. And in our culture, your father is not supposed to be knowing that you're on your period. So for me, it was never a secret to anyone. And then I had a breakout at 14. Now, every teenager, again, cultural thing, every teenager is supposed to have some sort of breakout.
Yeah.
But mine was not pimples. It was something like warts, right? And then my mom was not around. She had gone abroad. And it was just me and my father to deal with this issue.
Wow.
All right? And none of the doctors that we went to ever sat down and thought, okay, let me run a test and see if there's something different. You see? So I used salicylic acid, all sorts of things. Warts just were everywhere.
So even when you went to
face.
the dermatologist, they never related
Even the
it
dermatologist, because we went to dermatologists, we went to gynecologists, we went to every single hospital you can think of then that was in this country. Because my dad was, of course, thinking, oh my God, my beautiful daughter is finished.
What is going
no
on?
husband in the future. If things go this way, there's no husband in the future.
Right.
So he did his level best to take me to every single specialist that we could find. But there's not even a single person who thought that, okay, combination, some strange things on your face, painful periods, right? There can be something wrong with this. And I'm not just saying it's a Kenyan society thing. No, because when I went to the UK, it was the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Right. So what happened when I got these things, it lasted for like almost a year. I actually ended up on a magazine, this school magazines, right? Because I was some sort of Frankenstein person. So you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was that bad.
They were that bad.
They were that bad. And I got so frustrated one day, and I'm not lying to you, I sat down with a needle and Dettol, and I proceeded to pierce each one of them and get rid of them. And I knew the next day it was either my skin was going to be back or I would have damaged my face,
for life. For life. I'm glad it's not damaged for life. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. So that was the thing. My dad almost beat me to death because he did not understand how I could do that. But anyway, luckily, woke up the next day, wounds all over, had my Dettol prepared for the next day, and boom, 2-3 days later, skin cleared. And
Are you serious?
Yes.
So
skin cleared.
What changed? Because I don't think that's the right way to go about it. But
it's not the right way to go about it, but it just cleared.
So how did it clear? Did you ever figure out why it cleared?
We never figured out how it cleared, but it works to date.
Really?
Anytime, because it's always a sign for me that my period is coming. I get warts, not pimples, warts. And
are they painful?
Women who have PCOS will tell you. They will either get warts. Luckily, no warts come on my face anymore.
Okay.
But I will know the back of my arm here, down my back. And the other thing is hair. You can see.
Yes.
Yes. Most of us with PCOS will have two things, either hair loss or hair growth.
So
because of their male hormones.
Is that's what I was going to ask. Is the hair because of higher testosterone production?
Yes, androgens, yeah.
What about the hair loss? What's causing that?
It's the same.
It's
because
the same
now,
thing.
remember, your body is competing now against its nature.
Okay.
It has a higher level of something that's not supposed to be there.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's making your body start wondering, okay, am I male? Am I female?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Like
So
now, if you look at the back of my back, just all the way down, it's hair. I have to take care of it. That's another impact on a woman's life.
Certain points in the cycle, or is it all the time?
Hair, if you start with hair, it'll be all the time.
So it's all the time?
Yes. The warts come in cycles, especially just like a week or two before. The way you have, normal women have a pimple appear on a face or here, you know.
Appeal,
yes, then you know your period is coming.
Right.
For us, it's usually warts. So they have some sort of milkish substance in.
Are they painful?
Some of them can be,
Okay.
others are not. So it just depends.
So what causes the warts? Is it just the imbalance of the hormones?
It's the imbalance of the hormones.
Wow.
That's what causes. So, lucky for me, after I did that, I think the universe just thought, this girl, next time she'll
just
just
ruin her face.
ruin her entire face, so let's not damage her face anymore.
Right.
So I usually never get them on my face. If I do, it might be just one spot here, and that's it. But I get them on my body,
your
my
back
arms. Right. And also diet is a big thing.
So, and especially before, as you get older, you probably get better at managing it. But at that age, you're teenager, you're young, you're discovering boys, you're coming into your own. How did that affect your mental and emotional health?
It affects you a lot. For me, the warts came when I was just going to high school. So to me, it was like, okay, this is a situation where I look like some Frankenstein person and I'm supposed to be enjoying my life now. This is the time I'm supposed to be getting a little boy to like me back, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that, of course, affects you. And I think you have to be really mentally strong. I can tell you, like my brother wouldn't even go anywhere with me. It's like, you stay in the house,
stay in the house.
I just can't go with you anywhere. Okay. But for me, I think because I was lucky to have that mental strength. So, and I was very active in music clubs, drama. So we were out there competing, but I still went.
So
With
and you do
everything,
have this
but-
beautiful, effervescent personality and a laugh. So, yes.
So it helps. But you can imagine somebody who's self-conscious naturally.
Yeah.
That happens to that person.
Because you're
Can
already
really
in an
affect you.
awkward
Yes.
stage
Yes.
at that age. Yeah.
Then you have your heavy periods. You understand? Like for me, I've always had to use a super tampon and a super pad. So swimming, out of the question, first of all. When you have that, swimming is out of the question because, a tampon just does not work by
So,
itself.
other than the hair and the warts and the painful periods, what other symptoms can signal maybe there's a deeper problem other than the three we mentioned?
So the other thing is excess fatigue. Like during that period, I personally, people, of course, women have different symptoms, but I personally, and some of the people that I've spoken to, one of the biggest things is just fatigue.
So you're
Right?
just tired.
You're just tired. Like I told you, for me, 2 days out of a month, I'm out of commission because I'm suffering from this painful periods. I'm suffering from this heavy periods. I'm suffering from fatigue. I'm suffering from serious mood swings because that's another thing that it goes like the normal mood swings, which every woman gets during that period. For us, it's just elevated.
It's just elevated.
Yes. Again, your body is fighting with all these different hormones.
It doesn't know
Things
what
it
to
doesn't
do,
know
what's
what to do,
happening.
right?
Yes.
So I get very moody. That's one thing. I just don't want to be with people. Okay. I don't want to have to mask the pain. The other problem is also the medication that you have to take, right?
Yeah.
So because of the pain, sometimes it's so excruciating. You have to take, of course, things like ibuprofen. Ibuprofen, of course, as you know, is not something that you need to take all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And ibuprofen, by the way, which is something most people don't know, actually adds to the symptoms.
Really?
Yes. Because what happens with ibuprofen, it affects your stomach.
Yes.
Stomach lining. What happens with that is that, again, it starts the entire journey. Insulin, androgens, like that.
So what you're taking to manage the pain
Yes,
is
also
making
things
things worse.
worse for your cycle. It's making things better for you at that
At the
point
moment,
of the
in
cycle.
minute, right now,
Right?
yes.
But as you're going on, now you've fed your body something that's also aggravating the entire cycle that causes PCOS.
Ooh.
So you have to try and not take too much, which again means having to live with pain.
At least you're still living with pain.
Yes,
because
you're still living
not
with
taking
pain.
enough to
Yes.
completely take away the pain.
Exactly.
Because that would cause more long-term
Yes.
problems, and probably we all know painkillers. Some of them also affect the liver.
Exactly.
So you have to
Yes.
manage that.
Yes.
Wow.
And of course, this non-steroidal medications, like of course ibuprofen,
Exactly.
they have this thing of, destroying your stomach lining. So you're exposing yourself to things like ulcers, right? So one of the biggest things that we are told to do is always to have something to eat before you do that. But what happens when your pain is at 2 a.m. in the morning? Are you going to
You're not
wake
gonna
up and
go
start
eat first.
looking for food
And at
to
that
eat?
moment, all you're thinking
Yes,
is,
and
this
all you're
pain needs to
thinking
go
is,
away.
yes, the pain has to go
needs
away.
to go away.
Yes.
I remember having a very small cyst once. It ended up being removed. And it was tiny. Like when the gynecologist removed it, it was day surgery, went in, removed it. She showed it to me. I'm like, really? That is what's causing me that much pain? Because I would be in so much pain.
Yes.
I would literally double down. Like, and I remember I'll be at work and I'll go into the bathroom, take ibuprofen, and sit there until that was gone.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that is like.
Yeah. So you can imagine when both your ovaries are surrounded by cysts, okay?
And that's your life.
And that's your life, all right? You don't actually imagine the psychology. Even let's talk about because we're talking about women's health and also our psychology.
Yes.
Just think about sex itself.
Actually, even just having sex.
Even just thinking about the cycle, right? When am I safe? That's not something we have the luxury to think about.
No, you
as
actually
women
can't.
with PCOS, we can't, because you don't know when you're safe. You don't know when your next period is.
So you're kind of just, and I can imagine, especially for, because I'm going to bring this earlier since we're talking about it, for a married woman trying to conceive and become a mom.
Yes.
And how frustrating it can become
can
because
become.
you don't even know when.
Yes, you don't know what
it's
your
not
cycle
happening.
is. Yes, we actually, most of us with polycystic ovarian syndrome, especially advanced, you don't know what your cycle is. Right? And because of this insulin issue, diet is another thing.
Yes.
It's another mental stress. I can't just see a piece of cake and just
And
want to
go
eat it because I have to behave the same way a diabetic would behave. I have to think the same way. I have to know that sugar is not my friend, right? I have to know certain carbs are not my friend, right?
So you
I
have
have
to
to
know
know
what
that
to
I have to
eat.
reduce red meat. I know my gynecologist actually. That was the biggest war we had with her.
Red meat.
Because I love red meat. I love nyama choma, I mean. I can't
Come
be
on.
from
Yes.
this country without loving nyama choma, I mean. But I can't have nyama choma all the time because I know if I do that, then there's a problem. And I will know if my diet has
body
not
will
been
tell
right
you.
that month because I'll know.
Wow. So you go through all kinds of doctors here in Kenya.
Yes.
And then eventually you go to the UK.
Yes.
And as you said at the beginning, it still wasn't diagnosed yet. How did you go through the process of it getting diagnosed eventually?
So at least the UK, they gave me something, right, to control. But for them, they were always treating it the way you treat somebody with dysmenorrhea, because that's what they call this severe period pain.
Period pain.
And one of the biggest things is they give you is, of course, birth control.
Birth control, yes.
Yes, to again balance the hormones. So I started with the pill. They gave me the pill.
So
my
this was
body,
birth control pill?
Yes.
Okay.
My body just reacted. Like my entire skin
body was like,
became
"No."
sandpaper. Like literally like sandpaper. So of course that was not for me.
Okay.
We went to the coil, hormonal coil, of course, because the normal one was not going to work. Again, hormones. For me, I don't know, my body just doesn't like foreign things being introduced. So it was just a problem, okay? Again, that one for me was just the weight that I'm supposed to control as somebody with PCOS. It was just
ballooned, yeah.
piling. But
Right.
of course, none of us knew that. So I had to stop that. Then, of course, we went into implants. That was not working because they ended up even having hallucinations. It was that bad. My body just reacted
So
badly
we're
to
just trying here. They're just
Yes,
trying
just
birth
trying.
control, basically.
Yes.
So it's still not diagnosed.
It's still
yet.
not diagnosed
They're
yet.
just trying to control or
Yes,
balance the hormones.
to balance the hormones.
Okay.
Then finally we ended up with the Depo-Provera injection.
Injection, yeah.
That actually worked. But of course, in the UK, they look at long-term effects of things, and you're not allowed to use it for more than 3 years because it starts thinning the bones.
Oh.
So you can't use it for more than 3 years. So I had peace for 3 years. And that was it. I had to start again because now after 3 years, of course, the chemical was not out for quite some time. So I was at peace. My hormones had been controlled a bit for like 4 years, and then now
Then we start
back to square one.
Okay.
Now, when we went back to square one, that's when now my gynecologist said, no, I think we need to do something else. I think there's something wrong here. Because, I mean, most people get some sort of balance. Yours is getting worse. Okay? Because now after the depot, it's like the entire cycle just
Started
now.
again,
I started
all over from the
3
beginning.
months without a period. Can you imagine what that means to a woman psychologically?
Yes. And you've been having a period, at least
Yes.
for the 4 years.
Yes.
You were having a
Yes, even if it wasn't
regular-
at least some
something.
spotting or something to show that I'm doing, but now nothing.
like your body is working, because
Yes.
actually that's what it is.
Yes.
You know, having your period actually tells you your body is functioning.
Yes, even if you're
properly.
having some spotting for
Yeah.
2-3 days, at least you know, yes, at this time I got some sort of period. But when you don't have a period for for 3 months, then you start wondering, okay, what's wrong? And that's when now they started running now tests for something else. And you know the problem with the UK with the NHS, it's not so much preventative, you understand? So they're just going to do an intervention if it's a must
it's
for
a
them to
must.
do an intervention.
Right.
So that's what happened. And yeah, I was told I have something called polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I was given some sort of a ultrasound images and shown all these little white spots that are cysts all over my ovaries. I was told my ovaries are heavier than they're supposed to be because of the cysts. Yes, then I started on a diet.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to have the same diet, almost the same diet as a diabetic does. So, of course, sugar, all the carbs, all these things, yeah, sugar, anything that basically heightens sugar in your body.
So, from what I'm hearing, so you go through all these tests, but what actually ends up finding them is an ultrasound? Is that all it takes? Or is
Yes,
there
so
some...
it's an ultrasound. So they do, the ultrasound is the first thing. Then they pull, of course, they do some blood tests as well. So those are the two main things they do, right? Because they look for some specific sort of hormone. There's some ranges, there's some figures they give you. So if you need me to, I can send this after the podcast so that you can have the list of the figures. And then, of course, there are ranges. And if you're off the range of these hormonal figures, then, yeah, you have PCOS.
Yes.
And plus you have the ovarian cysts, which the ultrasound verifies.
Okay, so
Then
so
you
it's
told.
first the blood test, and
Yes.
there's numbers higher than this. You
Yes.
know, of course, every number has a range.
Yes.
If you're either higher or lower,
Yes,
then they'll
yes.
go a little bit further and test
so the
more.
LH and they have long names, you know. So
Okay, yeah, those
what do you call
long
it?
medical
long
names.
names. So yeah, so I'll send you that. But yeah, the LH, FH, then of course the egg count,
Yeah.
and then the ovarian cysts that are seen by the ultrasound.
So for you, that was, I'm guessing this happened while you were in college. So that's
Yeah. So in fact, I wasn't in college. I'd finished university.
so you've already finished university.
It's
So that's a
2009,
couple, that's a while ago, maybe,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
We're not going to say how old
Yes.
you are. However, so is it getting better? Like, is the diagnosis getting better now that gynecologists and doctors
No, it's
are
not.
more aware? Because that's what I'm like, okay, as we advance,
Yes.
and this is becoming more and more common amongst women,
Yes.
why is it still so undiagnosed? And we are still prescribing birth control pills for girls with painful periods rather than investigating a little bit further.
I think for me, I will say one thing, and I don't know how it's going to be taken, but of course I'm speaking to a female audience. Health, all matters health. Being in the health industry, one of the biggest things is that most health issues or most health solutions are funded by men.
Very true.
Yes.
It is very true.
I have a question for women with money, because I think that is something that women with money should actually put their money to.
Yes.
Because you don't know if your daughter is going to suffer the same issue. I mean, if we have managed to do keyhole brain surgery, are you telling me a neural network is less difficult than knowing how to balance women's hormones? I don't think so.
And
I'm not a
with them.
doctor, but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's a challenge we are putting out
Yes, it's a challenge I'm putting out there actually for women with money, wherever you are, or women of color especially. Let's do something about this.
because it's affecting a lot of
It's
women.
affecting a lot of women. Women are ending up becoming infertile.
Yep.
Yes, like for me, I can tell you, I don't know if I'm ever going to have
a
children
child or not.
or not.
Yes.
Yes, because my body, because of this hormonal imbalance, my body does not produce eggs, fertile eggs, enough
For you to,
for me to say yes,
I will have a baby.
I
or
will
not.
have a baby or not.
So, and a lot of women, again, are undiagnosed, and especially probably in developed world, a little bit more diagnosed than us. One thing as us, especially African women, we also don't go
We don't
to
go
the
for
doctor
checkups.
often. We
Yes.
don't go for regular tests. So we assume it's just, what would you advise a woman that's going through it right now and is even going to the doctor, but they're not testing further? It's birth control, take this, take that. What are the tests you maybe, because we should advocate for our own health, that they should ask their doctor, do you mind looking into this?
I think for me, if you have painful periods, right? If you have that excruciating pain where it interferes with your daily life, if you have some sort of hair growth that you can't explain, a woman's not supposed to have, then you should go to a doctor, a gynecologist, and ask for tests for
Which
polycystic
test?
ovarian
So just
syndrome.
ask for tests for PCOS.
Yes, PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, do it all so that you know what do I actually have.
Okay.
Because it is not normal. And I would like to repeat, to have painful period, hair growth, irregular period, serious mood swings
Right.
that are just unexplainable, too much fatigue that's unexplainable is not normal.
And see, that's also the thing about us women. Somehow we have decided in our minds that just being fatigued is normal.
Yeah, it's not normal.
And it's a cause of a whole lot of
Yes.
other things. It's anemia. It's not normal.
It's
and
not
we
normal.
need to let women know that being that tired
Yes,
is
is not normal. Okay, it's not having a period where you have to wear a tampon and a pad is not normal. Okay, so people need to go and see their gynecologists. Again, we don't go to see gynecologists. And
We actually
understand,
don't
yeah,
go.
we don't go to see a gynecologist. Every woman should have a gynae, right?
Yes.
Because of course it's not just polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's cervical cancer screenings. There's so many things that
going
affect
on
us.
with women's health and affect us.
Yes, that we don't screen for. So we need to be screening for that. And the other thing, of course, part of the work that I do is trying to get to a place where the insurer can also cover some of these things. Because I can tell you, one of the biggest reasons why I started my company is because for the first time I was doing a business here. I was running a business for somebody here. And for the first time, I was forced to access the Kenyan medical system for the first time.
Oh, I can tell you nightmares
So,
about that.
I had a bill of 60,000 Kenya shillings just for tests. I had not paid for medication. I had
Or
not
the
paid
doctor.
for consultations.
Yes.
Just for the tests. And to me, it was shocking because, of course, in the UK, we don't see hospital bills, right? So for me, it was, okay, how many women in Kenya or in Africa can afford 60,000 for tests?
They're just tests. Yes.
60,000 for tests.
And you know what else I found out? Because when I first came back, well, I'm still a consultant, so I was a consultant. So my health cover was individual cover. Do you know when you're on an individual cover, you probably already knew this, they do not cover annual physicals.
Yes, they don't.
Only group covers do.
Yes. That's true.
But we all need an annual, a gynecologist. You at least need to go once a year
Yes.
and be checked and see what is going on. So you're right. A lot of women are not going and they don't know what is ailing them.
Yes.
And they're getting to a point where we also live in a society where as a woman of a certain age, where are the babies?
Oh, yes. Tell me about
Where
that.
are the babies?
I'm suffering from that fate.
Right?
Yes.
And you're expected, and everybody is asking. And you don't even know, you even want one, but
Yes.
your body is not cooperating.
Is not cooperating.
And you don't even know why. So you don't even know what to do to fix it.
Yes.
And still, some women are still not going to see a doctor,
Yes.
even when that's happening. So when
Yes.
a woman has been trying several times to get pregnant and it is not happening, what would your advice be?
Again, for me, it would be just, and I'm not saying this against any of our doctors. We need to get to a point where we can practice preventative medicine.
Yes.
And of course, the doctors will not be able to practice preventative medicine without a governmental shift, like the whole medical field, the insurance field, the culture shift.
The culture shift
that
also.
I can go to a doctor even if I'm not feeling anything, you understand?
Yes.
Just for a regular checkup, right? But of course, our people are constrained again by money because it's a choice. Will I buy food or will I go and pay a consultation fee when I don't feel anything wrong with me?
Yeah.
You understand? So it's first of all, it has to come from the payer. You understand? It has to come from the government, it has to come from the insurer. Okay, for women, let's do an annual checkup for everyone. In the UK, you have to go do a cervical screening, right? Once you reach a certain age. And if you don't, there's letters every day at the door. Yes, text messages, you have to go. Wow. Why? Because they know that if we don't screen for this now, the bill later on, right? For ultrasounds, it will cost them more. Imagine if I had been diagnosed when I was young. Let's say let me just give them benefit of doubt and say at 14, when I had my warts.
Your dad was taking you to all the doctors everywhere.
By now, I would have learned how to control my conditions, my symptoms, right? Especially food, because for PCOS, food is so important. Diet is everything. Weight.
Yes, and also hard to lose weight.
Yes,
so you need to
I had to lose weight because weight is the biggest enemy for any woman with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I can say it's not easy because we want to eat what we want to eat. We don't want to be thinking 24/7, oh my God, I don't want to eat this. Oh my God, I need to look at the scale.
Then you have to be very conscious.
Yes,
about
I'm always conscious. Like for me, I know this. Once I get to above 70 kgs, my symptoms just flare up.
And when we first had the discussion, actually, I remember it was May last year, and you told me you've gained weight, so your symptoms are actually acting up.
Yes.
And you told me it's time for me to go. And by the way, you weren't big. Yes. You were still fairly, small. I was like, wow, that was eye-opening. Yeah. So all the women out there, you mentioned the type of carbs you eat. So I'm guessing processed carbs are probably...
Processed carbs are a no-no.
A no-no. And in a culture
and
where
I love
we
chocolate
love
and everything.
Processed carbs, ugali, and I'm not talking about the brown ugali. I'm talking about just white flour, processed hostess ugali. Nothing against hostess. And the white rice and... Those are staples in our diet. So for a woman with PCOS, that's really, really hurting her.
It's really bad. For me, I can say I have a beautiful gynecologist, by the way. I love her because she's more of a progressive kind of doctor.
Yes.
And she understands from her own perspective, her own struggles, how to give you advice that does not constrain you too much. Because I think, and this is just not for women with PCOS, but I think most women can attest to this. When you go on a diet, whatever, keto, whatever it is, the day you meet that chocolate that you didn't eat for 3 months, you are going to have 5 bars of that chocolate.
Yes,
you understand? And that's true. And that's just the human condition. So...
The minute it's the human brain.
It's the human brain. Yes, then that's when your entire system wants this thing. Yeah, you said I can't. Okay, now my subconscious has gone to work. It wants this thing. So the best advice she told me was just do it moderate. Yeah. Okay, moderate everything. If you're going to have a full chocolate, just have maybe
a few 2 bars or whatever.
2 bars. Yes. You understand? whet your appetite for that thing and just let it go. Okay? Because if I tell you right now, don't. You're not going to do for 3 months
That's
like
when
a
I
good
want.
little student. And then after that, the
Gonna
day
go
you
to town.
gosh, then you'll go to town. And that was my biggest weakness because the first time I went to her, she didn't explain it that way. So to me, the first thing was I cut out meat. And I love meat. So I went full on vegetarian. Okay, so no red meat. And I did that for like I tried because I did it for a year. Then it all fell apart. And I ate meat like I'd never eaten meat before. And my symptoms, everything just flared up, And I went back to her and I told her, okay. And she told, who told you not to eat meat? I didn't tell you to not eat meat.
I told you to limit.
I told you to just limit. Even if you have it once a week, don't have it every day. And this is just not about PCOS. It's about just
Everything.
our culture.
Actually, it's about
about
health
everything.
and
we weren't raised to
and
eat the way we eat meat right now. Meat is the star of the diet, of the dish. These days. And yet we are not built as human beings to process meat at that level. You understand? So it's not just about this. It's about, okay, what is it that works for me? There's somebody who will be able to switch off meat like this and become a vegetarian. But then there's also some carbs in veg that you're not supposed to be eating.
Even in veg, there's some carbs you're not supposed to eat.
You're supposed to be eating too much of.
So you need to be very, very aware of what you need to be eating and just... And I say awareness, so you know, okay, I still can, but I need to just be careful and limit it.
Like for me, potatoes, for example, you'd think are safe, but they're not for me. Warus, can you imagine? Somebody from where I come from.
Yes.
That's problematic.
Right.
So I have to switch that with sweet potato.
Right.
You understand? So, but it doesn't mean that I don't eat potatoes at all. I try to eat limited.
You limit, the potatoes, but you're not going to deny yourself of the potatoes.
Yes. And keep a food diary. That's what I say. That's what helped me. I kept a food diary. I started being aware of, okay, what do I eat that flares this condition?
So why are carbs so dangerous for people with PCOS? Why do they flare up symptoms? Yes, because then they spike your insulin. Yes. That's what a lot of people do not
Spiking
realize.
Your insulin, androgen production. Androgen production lowered estrogen, compromised progesterone.
Testosterone
testosterone rises. Hair, cysts, because eggs now are turning into cysts. You understand?
Right.
Irregular period. Like
so
that.
It's just this cycle.
It's a cycle.
So it's really the insulin that's the problem.
Yes, it's really the insulin. And for me, it's gotten even to a point where even through my own research, even fruit, for example.
Because fruit has a lot of sugar. That's what we
I don't
realize.
eat fruit without a protein.
Yes, so you combine them together so the spike is not so high.
Controlled, yes. So if I eat fruit, let's say like mangoes or things like a very sugary, then I can balance that with maybe like a yogurt.
A
Greek yogurt or something on top of it, or some nuts. You understand? And that balances. So that spike is not so high. So the secret, PCOS, secret diet, control your insulin. For me, apple cider vinegar is one thing that I swear by. Okay, I swear by. It can give you a sort of excuse. My gynecologist was laughing at me because I was like, she's like, please don't eat a big meal and then have apple cider vinegar because you know it's going to control the insulin. So you don't do that. But if you take apple cider vinegar, especially after a high carb meal, it does help.
It does help.
So
it has to become a complete lifestyle shift.
It's
actually
not
diet. It's lifestyle.
It's lifestyle shift. The things you buy, the things you eat, the things you look at and go like, I want that.
Yeah, I remember like on Saturday, we were at an event and there was all these beautiful like desserts and just smelled like chocolate and sugar. But I realized you were not even craving it.
No, I wasn't.
Just like,
no, I wasn't.
It smells good. It smells like chocolate and sugar, but no, we're not going to do that.
It gets to a point where you can do that, right? And it's not easy though, because habits are really difficult to break. And of course, the other problem is that as women, and especially during our period, we have this psychological thing that, the cravings that we have during our period, we have to satisfy them. Some of us crave chips. Some of us crave, sugar, chocolate, whatnot, right?
Yes,
So
because actually,
Yes.
during your period, that week leading up to your period, because it's all hormonal and
Yes.
we don't actually realize
Yes.
it. Why do we crave the sugar and the carbs? So
Yes.
progesterone
Yes.
likes sugar,
sugar.
and carbs. And that's why we crave it.
Yes.
And we shouldn't completely deny progesterone of that, because then it thrives on that. That's how it shows up. And if you deny those things completely, it shies away.
Yes.
And it's not very, very happy.
Yes.
So as a person with PCOS, at that moment when they're craving, I need to have a carb or a piece of chocolate. And my body needs it because women actually shouldn't go off carbs completely. Is that when you advise, like, okay, have a little bit of fruit? Or
Yes. Change your mind. And it's all about training of the mind, because humans, we forget that we're very powerful, right? We can change our minds. We can instruct our minds to think a certain way, and your mind will.
And see, your mind is also, whatever you feed it,
Yes.
it goes with it.
It goes with it. So
Yep.
if you say, every time I have period, I have to have milk, chocolate, dairy milk, full bar.
But that's what it will
Every
do.
time.
Your mind is like, I
will
need it,
click.
I need it, I need it.
Yes. But if you change it and say, maybe I'll have a dried fruit, for example. Yes,
even
I might
have an
some
apple
dried
or-
fruit with a yogurt, or, put some blueberries in a yogurt or something of that sort. Understand? Something that's a bit more healthy. Or if I really, really want that chocolate, and I can't stand, because I don't like telling people to eat things that, even for me, like dark chocolate for me just is tasteless.
It's just not
okay.
yeah.
So let's just know, I love
we're not going
chocolate,
there.
but I'm not gonna sit here and tell people have dark chocolate 80% cacao.
80%
You understand?
yeah.
I can't say that. So for me, a compromise, I'll go to like 50% cacao,
and
something with some sea salt, right? That at least
the sea salt. And
yes, and then I'll
have
have
like a
yes,
yogurt,
like
or
a yogurt or
something.
something that just controls that sugar. You see, so you can try and understand these things. And the good thing is, these days we have University of Google, I call it,
Like I
College
said,
of
just go
YouTube.
there, College of
Do your
YouTube.
research, understand your cravings, understand what is in your country. Because I can tell somebody, oh, don't do this, but that food, or do this, but that food is not
It's not available
in that country. So you have to
Yes.
just do your research. There's a lot of information out there that can give you what you need to balance your diet. But weight is a no-no.
So as we're talking about, I know we talked about vegetables and fruit, and I'm going to go here specifically because a lot of us think vegetables and fruit, it's free will. You can do and eat as much as possible. So, and you said some of the carbs in some veggies are, at least for you, don't work. Like, can you give us examples of what those veggies are that the carbs and you can't have too many of them?
Yeah. So for me, potatoes, number one, like
potatoes.
I mentioned that. I tend to like things that have more fiber, right? That works better for me. So instead of the potato, I'll have a sweet potato.
Okay.
Right? And I can eat a sweet potato as
So
much as
sweet
I want.
potato would
yes,
be
for
okay,
me it
but the
doesn't
potato,
affect.
no.
Yes.
Okay.
A potato, I would not have as much of it. Right? Other things for me is fruit, for example. I'll give you an example, like high sugar fruit, like mangoes especially. And I love mangoes. Okay, so if I eat a mango, I'll put it in a yogurt, or I'll put it with an avocado, because the
Because of
proteins
the
in
fat and
avocado,
the-
the fat,
Yeah, it just brings it down.
yes, it brings it down. Or I'll have an apple, for example, and some almonds. Again, balances it out.
Balances it.
But if you do your research, you'll see this fruit especially has high sugar.
It has very, very high
High
sugar.
sugar. So it's not a free for all, but it's not a situation where I'm saying don't
eat
eat.
fruit.
Balance it out, because fruit is healthy.
It
to be
is
honest,
healthy.
it is healthy, but just balance it out, because your worst enemy is an insulin spike.
Yes.
Yes.
So I've seen this advice out there, people giving it to say, if you're on PCOS, go keto, and that will.
I'll be careful about this, because I will give it from my own personal
And give it from
perspective.
your own perspective, yes.
Because there are people, maybe it works.
It works for, and that's the thing with
Yes.
every diet. It works for
But
some
is
people,
it
but not all.
sustainable? That's the question I always
question.
ask. If you're going on a diet, is your diet sustainable? Because if it's not sustainable, you will still go back to your habits.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
Things like keto, of course, are very radical. You understand? They change your entire diet overnight. You see? So how about just
The sustainability.
the sustainability of it? Can you go on a keto diet for the rest of your life? That's the question you need to ask
Because
yourself.
if you go on it for just a period, then
Yes.
you come back and the same problem
The same problem will manifest.
will manifest.
So, and it might even manifest even worse because now you're going to make up for all the chocolates, like I said before, that you didn't eat when you're on your keto diet.
Right.
You see, so what is sustainable? For me, what I found is sustainable is that moderation. That's it. I eat what I want, but in moderation.
In moderation.
Okay?
And that comes from understanding your body,
Yes.
understanding what
Yes.
works, and knowing how to
Navigate.
Yes.
The biggest thing is women, and it's not just women, but we're not aware of our bodies.
No,
we're
don't know.
too busy taking care of our external, appearance, right? Let me go to the gym. Let me
Yes.
bulk up some muscles. Let me stay lean. Let me lose my tummy. You understand? Let me go look good on my face. Let me put some makeup. Let me go for some facial.
You get a whole skincare
Yes.
routine going. And
Exactly. Yes, we're all looking at Koreans and this
going,
glass
this
skin.
is
I don't know,
what I
God knows
need.
what. But we're not looking inside ourselves.
And it
right?
all manifests.
And it all manifests from
outside.
inside.
Yes.
Most of the time you'll find if you have some spots you can explain, there's something going on inside your body.
It's actually your body telling you
Yes,
something.
it's your body telling you something.
Something is wrong.
Exactly. So we need to take the time to understand our body. If you have a condition like PCOS, understand that condition itself. What should I not do? What is my enemy? Then understand, what are you putting into your body? We are what we eat, by the way.
Are.
That's one thing that people don't understand.
We are what
This
we eat.
growth that you have, that you came from here up to here,
It's
where
food,
you are
yeah.
and where you're going further till you die, it's what you eat. It's what makes you.
Yeah.
So if you have PCOS, then what you eat is either going to make it worse
Or better.
or better.
Or manage it,
Or
basically.
manage it.
Yes.
You understand? So you have to just think about, what am I doing
Is there
for myself?
my
Yes.
body? And that's, I
My
think,
body.
the most important thing to understand.
Exactly.
Like, we all have, even if you have PCOS, everybody will have different things that work and don't work for others. So it's your body.
Yes,
Understanding your body, getting
Exactly,
help
yeah.
to understand your body from specialists. Are there different kind of PCOS, or is it all the same?
It's all the same.
Okay.
For PCOS, it doesn't have a scale of some sort. It's just about the symptoms. Like, what symptoms do you get?
Right.
Right? There's some women with PCOS who have proper
Facial hair.
hair.
Yeah.
Completely proper facial hair. Back everywhere, right? Serious growth, their legs everywhere. And that's
Yes.
their condition. You might find they're not even in pain.
So
just
they
have-
actually may not have
Yes,
pain.
they might not even have
the
pain.
hair.
They just have the hair.
So that, for them, that's what they manage.
Exactly.
Right.
Others, they might lose their hair. That's what they manage. You see.
Yeah.
Others might have breakouts, from warts to acne to unexplainable things that go on with your skin. Others may just have the worst time controlling their weight.
Yes. And I want to come back to weight. Why is weight one such an enemy of PCOS? And why is it, again, so easy to gain it when you have PCOS?
Insulin.
We go back to insulin. So we keep going back to insulin.
Yes. Remember, most people who have problems with insulin tend to have cravings a lot. Because the
yes.
body is
The
craving that
spiked
sugar.
sugar.
Yes, it's craving it. You understand? So
And when it falls,
Yes.
Could that be also some of the reason for the
for the fatigue, yes. Because when
Okay.
it falls, now you feel drained. Now you need a pick
You
me
need
up.
more to
You understand?
Yes.
So it's and especially most women I've spoken to, weight is the big issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have this unexplainable cravings, right? That you need to even function. And as you're eating them, you're adding on weight. And as you're adding on weight, the insulin problem is becoming more exacerbated. And the cycle just keeps going.
Continues.
Just keeps going. And I can tell you, for me, my biggest struggle as well has been weight. Apart from the pain for me is the worst bit of it all. But besides that, it's weight.
The weight.
So I'm in this situation where I have to be so conscious. I have to always have a bathroom scale
Just
everywhere
to
I
see
live.
where you are.
Because now I'll measure. Once I start going 69 point, now then I know now it's time to start reduction, because I know when I hit 70, things are going to go
And
left.
see, you know that.
Yes, because I've studied it. I've spent
studied
time
your body, you understand
studying
it well
myself.
enough,
Yes.
and to know where the danger signs are signaling.
So as women, you have to understand your body. 70 might be the no-no for me, but for somebody else,
it could be 60,
it could be 60,
or whatever.
it could be 80.
Could be
You
80,
understand?
yes.
Because again, we have different bodies. So, and that's one of the explanations where they were being given before by some specialists of why they haven't solved our problems as women.
Because of our weight?
Because we all have different bodies. So
But
yeah,
isn't
but
that
to
a
me,
human thing?
it's
having
just an
different
excuse.
bodies?
Are our brains the same? Let me ask that question.
Right.
If there are neurologists on this thing,
Is
I would love their response. Is my brain and yours identical?
No.
Completely.
We have
So
different
that
brains.
it's easier to solve brain surgery
But
than
no PCOS.
than
Our
PCOS.
body, our
Yeah,
health,
so I need
reproductive.
to understand that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need to understand
So
that.
how does exercise, does it help in managing PCOS?
Exercise helps a lot. Exercise is something that you must have in your life, because again, PCOS, sitting down for PCOS is not.
Is it again with the insulin and the hormones?
Yes, so it is not something that you should practice as somebody suffering from PCOS. You have, even if you don't go to the gym or things like that, just have some regular exercise.
Move your body, even
move
if it's
your
a
body.
walk.
Yes, and by the way, when you move your body, you find the pain as well reduces.
Okay.
By the way, I know when I've been good because my pain is not as severe.
Wow.
Yes, you'll know when you've been good because your pain is not as severe. So exercise for me is a must, and of course it helps with the weight control as well. But again, for me, it's sustainability. So what do? I dance, I walk. You'll never find me in a gym, because for me, a gym is not
It's
sustainable.
not sustainable.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's
And
not
that's the whole thing
sustainable.
with exercise for
Yes,
anyone.
it is not sustainable
you have
for
to pick
me.
something that you can actually
Yes,
keep doing.
exactly.
And my advice usually is pick something you enjoy.
Exactly, yeah.
Because otherwise you're not going to do it.
So
Like I hate running. So if I told myself I'm going to start running,
That's a lie.
no, that's a lie. I and actually also time when
Yes.
you do it.
Yes.
Because I've told you this, I hate mornings. So if I told myself I'm going to be waking up in the morning and exercising, that's a lie.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And
true.
don't get me wrong, I've tried over the
Yes.
years and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So you dance. So I think the advice for women is move your body. Actually, we're not even going to call it exercise. Move your body.
And this, I would say, it's not just about women with PCOS. It's us
Women in general.
in general.
Yeah.
Because remember, our great-grandparents never used to get sick that much. And it's because they were always active.
Yes.
This sedentary lifestyle that we live these days is the biggest problem. Yes, it's the biggest problem. It's the reason why we have all these chronic conditions,
Yeah,
including
coming up now, PCOS.
Yes, because we are sedentary. It's the food we eat, lack of activity, all these things are what is piling up, because we are going against the nature of the body.
Right.
The body is made to move.
It's made to move. And
Yes.
you feel better actually
Yes.
even when you move. Even
The
when
body
your
is made to
mood,
move.
Everything.
Yes.
Yes.
It lifts up your mood, But if you're sedentary, you will feel it. That lethargy comes in. And please, let's remember, we are what we do and what we eat, because that lethargy is not just an external manifestation. It is an internal manifestation. As long as you're not moving, don't think your organs are working at maximum. No,
By the
they're
way,
not.
they are
They're
very-
also taking a chill
taking a
vibe.
break, like,
Yes, if
oh
we're
my
going to
God.
be just relaxing, let us relax. Oh,
And
everything.
your body is very efficient,
Yes,
by the way.
yes.
If you're not using something,
Yes, it starts
starts
shutting
shutting
things
it
down.
down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's why we are in the situation that we are in.
Okay.
So exercise to me, is something that must be a
so
part
just
of
moving
your
your body
regime.
has to be a part of everything that you do. So there's something we haven't talked about. It's not curable. PCOS, you can't cure it.
not curable.
So it's just basically managing it. Are there like treatments out there? I know we've talked about, the exercise, the diet, those are more lifestyle, but like medication that, prescription medication that women can be on. Is that something in PCOS or no?
Yeah, there are medications. The biggest thing will always be something to control your hormones.
Okay, so
The
it's
hormonal
always
imbalance.
basically the battle
Yes,
is
yes,
controlling the
yes.
hormones, which is
And
insulin
yeah,
and estrogen and
yes,
progesterone and the
yes,
production of
that
testosterone. So
balance.
it's this perfect, not perfect balance, but they're trying
Yes,
to make it as normal
as
as
normal as
possible.
possible. Basically, normal conditions for your reproductive system to function as it should.
As it should.
For your egg not to turn into, for your follicle to turn into an egg, not a cyst. You understand? That's the biggest thing. You have to create those conditions. So there is medication, and most of the time you're going to be given medication like metformin for diabetes. You're going to be most of the time because it's
Really?
either controlling, right, the hormones and the insulin. Those are the two things.
So you are actually better off
Yes.
doing it from a lifestyle.
Yes, exactly,
perspective.
because it's always going to be medication to control
control
hormones or to
something.
control insulin. Those two.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
this I have learned way after we had our. I actually went on to full-on research.
Uh-huh.
I used to hear women say, I have PCOS, but you know, when something also doesn't affect you,
Yes,
or
yes.
not someone close to you, you don't
Yes.
pay that much attention. I went on to full-on. Basically research,
Yeah.
and now I hear about more women. It's almost like as once you become aware of something, you hear
Yeah,
about
yes,
it more.
yes, yes.
I did not know that it's one of the biggest causes for diabetes amongst
in women.
Do women know this?
Most women don't. Most women don't. I didn't.
And I was watching, that's actually a couple months ago, I was watching this YouTuber, I forget her name. I think she's Nigerian, but she lives in the UK. And she was talking about how she lost like almost maybe 30 pounds by doing intermittent fasting. But then all of a sudden the weight came back and she couldn't lose it anymore. Doing everything she was doing. So as a woman who has managed my weight, I didn't even know, because the diagnosis came back, it was PCOS. But that's after she's been doing everything she's always done,
Yes.
but the weight is not
Yeah.
going away. Why does that work? Because she was doing the right thing. She was eating properly. She's intermittent fasting. She used to do the 36, whatever, you know, the way you fast for 36 hours and eat. She lost a lot of weight, but then it stopped working. She's eating right, or she thinks she's eating right, and she's intermittent fasting. She's exercising. She even started exercising twice a day, but the weight is not going away. So she's doing all the right things, but the weight is not falling. What could be going on?
So, another thing, you know the thyroid, it controls your hormones.
Right.
You understand? So that's another thing that somebody might need to investigate as well, right? Because it might not be allowing her, despite everything she's doing,
right.
it might not be allowing her to balance the hormones. And you'll find some people with PCOS actually have thyroid.
They also have thyroid issues.
Issues, you understand? So again, leading to the control of the hormones, to the control of the insulin intake, you understand? So it might be that there's some underlying issue apart from PCOS that's aggravating her symptoms.
Aggravating it.
Yes. Because to be honest, most of the time, if you do the right things with PCOS, it's not easy. But if you do the right things, it's actually balanced. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people don't think about it too much, unlike endometriosis or fibroids.
Yeah.
You understand? Because there are steps you can take that can manage PCOS very well.
Right.
You see? But if she's taking all those steps and nothing is happening, then there might be an underlying factor. So she needs to go and get all the right tests. For me, I always say full body MOT.
The whole thing. Just
Full
go
body
get it.
MOT.
Okay.
Then find out, okay, what is this
is-
thing that is interfering with my life? And I'm
So-
doing the right things.
Society does not understand PCOS. Even women ourselves, we don't. Even women going through it do not know. What can we do better in just as a society educating women? Like right now, if I find a woman that may be having some issues, or a cousin of mine or a friend, how can I advise or just give them the necessary information for them to go get tested? Because you could be telling someone, but they're like, no, I'm fine. It's just pain during my periods. I'm good.
I think for me, it's platforms like yourself, right? Like yours, that put the message out, right? That bring people to talk about these things, right? To denormalize that painful period. Yes. To tell you that, okay, this is not normal. You need to see somebody about this. It's about the gynecology community, to be honest, coming out. Because again, I don't know why they don't come out to do this. Because, I mean, despite the fact that it's good for health, if you look at it from a business perspective,
It's also really good.
it's good for them, as for business, for them to get as many women to know about this condition as possible.
As possible.
But I think it's just one of those things that's ignored until people like us speak up and tell women, yeah, actually, you might have something called polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I know, especially for Americans, they've done it very well, because most of the information I find is usually from America. It's from the US. And there's so many sisterhood blogs, you understand, that come together and talk about this condition that nobody knows. Because if you talk about endometriosis, people know
about endometriosis.
Fibroids, people
Everybody
know.
knows,
yes. But PCOS, nobody knows these things. Right? So it's just about creating those platforms of awareness. I'm doing it myself, right? Sat here with you, right? You're doing it, putting together such a podcast, a wonderful podcast. It's about more people doing it, getting into the faces of people who don't even have access to this. Understand? Talking to our mothers or our aunties or our sisters in the villages and telling them, listen, this is not normal.
Because we also don't talk about it.
Yes, we don't talk about
especially
it.
when it comes to period, it's like this
it's like a taboo. Oh my God.
So we don't even say we have painful periods.
We don't.
Just know.
We don't. And it's like what I was saying to you when I started my period when I was 9. My mom cried her eyes out because she thought,
I remember we had that conversation.
Now she's going to get pregnant. You understand? Like,
and
oh my God.
Over.
I remember that, like I said, actually, I'm really lucky to have I think I was given a very strong constitution, mind-wise, because how I started my period was so funny and so embarrassing. Because I was actually in a classroom. You can imagine a 9-year-old. Then we were never taught anything to do with sexual health.
Anything.
That was taboo. There was nothing like that was ever discussed. So I think for me, I went to school. So in the morning, of course, we used to shower at night because our school was far.
Were you boarding school?
Yes. No.
Okay, it was just far.
Yeah,
okay.
But because of the commute, right? So there was a place, like the school van used to get us, a centralized place. So it was a bit far from our place. So my mom preferred for us to shower at night. Then in the morning, it's just quick, dress up
and go.
So I didn't realize anything because I'd showered at night and nothing was wrong. And I went to school. And we had this thing, of course, Africa. We had to combine classes for one reason or the other, and there weren't enough seats. So a friend of mine decided they're going to sit on their seat, sit on a plank of wood, and I was going to sit at the edge,
of the plank of the wood.
Yes.
Okay.
So, of course, at that point, she better not stand up for any reason. Because if she stands up...
Right, you'll be ejected.
Yes, I'll be ejected. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, no.
In the middle of something, I don't know what excited us. And she jumped up and your friend here, Veronica, was ejected like a cartoon. And I just came back crashing with legs open like this. And the boys and girls in the room just went like, red panties!
Oh, my God. At 9 years old.
Yes. Red panties. This time I didn't know my mom on the other side had gone to make the bed and found a red spot.
Oh.
And was praying to the heavens and everything that existed.
Something else was
that it was a bite or a scratch or something. Yes. And for me, it was a bit of a tomboy. So this girly things, it was like, what is happening to me? It was, you can imagine, psychological trauma for me. So off to the nurse. Luckily, it was a female teacher in class. So she quickly gathered me up, took me marching to the nurse. And the nurse, of course, then we were given cotton wool. There was nothing like sanitary pads.
Yeah.
And I was given a cotton wool. Then the nurse gave me strict instructions. Usitoe, do not remove that cotton wool from between your legs. Of course, a child of 9. You take
You
that
removed it?
literally. No, you take that
Oh,
literally.
oh wow. Yes, literal.
It is
like
not to come
literal
off.
Meaning
Yes,
it will not
literal
come out.
meaning it is not going to come off. Off I go home. And I go and I decide I need to go to the toilet, right? Because now I was sent home. And of course, I peed through everything because I was told
you
not
were
to
not-
take anything.
don't take it off, yes.
So it became another disaster. My mom started crying. My auntie was there, started crying. My dad had to know why people are crying in his house.
No, that's so traumatizing and dramatic. Like,
So he was told that his daughter is a young woman now,
nine.
at 9 years old, and my aunt proceeded to start telling me about boys, and I'm thinking, what? I'm a tomboy. Like my friends are boys. What are you talking
What do
about?
you
That I need to
mean?
stay away from that. It was a crisis, I'm telling you. So you can imagine that I had that thing with my period. Like, okay, this is a bad thing that has happened.
And that's how we are
to
told.
me. You understand? This is a
Right.
bad thing that has happened to me. So you can imagine now with all these other bad things now starting
then
to
it's coming with
happen.
pain and
I've
warts
always
and-
had this trauma about my period.
It's literally anxiety around
Yes,
periods.
I've always had this anxiety. So yeah, and some things can manifest into a condition, and maybe that's why.
And
But
I think I remember you telling me, it's like, it was so dramatic. Even the neighborhood knew something had
yes,
changed.
it was
Because your mom would basically not allow you
yes,
to play.
it was traumatic, like really traumatic, especially for a tomboy. It was just not good. But yeah, so it's trauma, and I think for me, we just need to change our culture and how we speak about these things, because we don't speak about female issues with that regard for the female, right? That this is
No.
normal, that
It-
this is
it's-
something that
it's
we need to
actually like
talk
we
about.
shouldn't even
Yes,
talk about
it's like
it. It's like we need to be
shouldn't.
ashamed.
Yes,
and
we
never
need to
talk
be
about
ashamed.
it.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why such conditions are not discussed. And it's just not even our culture; it's everywhere. It's
everywhere.
worldwide,
Yes.
right? If you think about it, female issues are always supposed to be private, right? You're not supposed to show your pad. Your pad is not supposed to be seen anywhere. You understand? You're not supposed
Yes,
to.
even your tampon, we go and we hide it
exactly.
everywhere. Yes.
So you can imagine with people with PCOS, heavy bleeding. I've had so many accidents because of that.
Because of it, because of how heavy it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a time I was actually just standing somewhere giving a talk,
And it just...
and it just went red through everything. So it's also that psychological thing that as a woman, you have to be strong. You have to know that if this happens, and that's why actually I love that MP. What's the
yeah, I don't
yes, the one who
remember
went
her name.
around
Yes,
with red
with-
pants.
with the- with- yeah.
Spot on. That's that's the kind of stuff, because it has actually happened to some of us, right? I have a friend as well that I used to work with, and it happened to her when we were going to see a client, and she dripped all the way from the car into
To
the
the
receptionist into the office.
Because she has to go into the bathroom. Because if you're
She
in the
didn't even
car-
know.
So she doesn't even know.
She
She's
doesn't
just
even
dripping
know.
and not knowing.
Right?
Yeah.
I was in front of her, so I didn't even know. It is the driver who came running after us to tell us that there's some
There's
accident
some
that's happening.
accident.
You can imagine that's in the middle of somebody's office.
Yeah. So we need
And
to
you're wearing a
normalize it.
pad, you're wearing a tampon. It's not that
Tampon.
you're not wearing what you're supposed to be wearing. You are.
You have everything you need, and you probably, because
Yes.
that's what people, like, it's so heavy. You might soak through that tampon and pad
Yes.
sometimes in 15 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's something that we need to destigmatize as women, and it's up to us ourselves to speak about it, because we're also the problem.
We are also
we're
the
not
problem, because
speaking about
when
it.
somebody has an accident, we look at it as it's like them being
Yes,
careless.
they were careless. You understand?
Yes.
Nobody who's wearing a tampon, super, and a pad,
pad.
super, and then drips is being careless.
No, you're actually
get-
being very,
you're
very
being
careful.
very careful, but
Yeah.
we have that tendency of, oh my God. Instead of helping
my
a
God.
sister out, we are shunning a sister for being red.
Which is normal biology, human function as a woman.
So how do you expect the men then
to embrace it
to embrace
and
it?
support it if we can't
Yes, if we
as
can't
women?
ourselves. Yeah.
So Veronica, as young girls who are coming into, and I know we struggle, like you just said, like you did, you're starting your period. I do a lot of donation for menstrual cups. I started with sanitary towels. And I know a lot of these girls, I thought at 49, what I went through, these girls wouldn't be going through the same thing, but it's still the same thing. So what would you advise a young girl at 12, 13, 9, starting her period, and then already feeling shame and she can't talk about it, and then she's so painful? What would you advise, actually not just her, but also the people around her, the community around her, her mom, her aunties, her sisters, to support her?
So I'm actually going to tell you a real life story. Again, I like telling from my experiences. My younger brother has a daughter who's just hit the spot. And she did that, when was it, last year when she was 10.
Wow.
So my biggest nightmare right now is that she might
And
end up with my DNA running through her, okay, and end up with the same situations that I did. So when she started, of course, it was young. Yeah, her mother was not the same. So to her mother, it was like, okay, wait a minute. Why is my daughter now starting this thing so early?
so early.
And despite where we live, like that stigma is still there. Like that lack of understanding
everywhere.
it's everywhere. You get. And the first thing that happened was my brother calling me and telling me, "Oh, my daughter is in this situation. Can you talk to her? Because you went through it as well."
Right.
You see?
The community.
Yes, the
Yeah.
community. And it's that understanding, and it's that thing where the parents understand, okay, because for me, that's the biggest question I've ever had, which is who in my family passed this down? Because
it's
my
actually-
mother
it
was
is
not like that.
genetic,
Yes,
isn't
it is genetic.
Right.
So who passed this down? Who had this DNA? And I'm not saying it's bad DNA, but in the joking manner, we say, who had this
Who had
bad
these
genes?
bad
Who
genes, who passed them yeah.
Yes, brought me trouble in my life.
Is it maternal or paternal, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You see, so that's the thing. It somewhere. So for us, we think maybe it's somewhere along my dad's side, because my mom, their sisters, they didn't. None of them had this issue.
None of her sisters
right?
had the issue. Okay.
Yeah. So we think it's that way, but now my brother, because he understands that I have it, then he can tell his wife, right, and his daughter to consult me on what to do. So building that community is very important, right? And as a young girl, don't be shy, right? That's the one thing I say. Don't be shy to say, I am in pain, even to your father, even if he's some old African person. Just tell him, listen, Dad, it's like this. I have problems and I need a solution to this. It is not normal for me to be feeling this.
Yeah.
It's not normal for me to be in pain. It's not normal. And the other thing as well, my warts were not being treated correctly because, again, it was assumed
adolescence,
exactly,
acne,
yes.
and yes.
But adolescence acne was very different from what I had. Okay, so that's another thing. Like, we have to understand together, right? As a child, as a 12-year-old, do you know what acne is? Okay, do you know the difference? And I'm talking to these 12, 10-year-olds because they are smarter than us.
They're smarter than us.
100 times.
Get the information.
So they can get that information themselves, right? I see them even on our Dr. V's and everything, asking questions. Is my acne just normal acne?
So like jazz. I'm like, wow.
You get.
I didn't even know where to begin.
Yes, and if you have cousins in the village maybe who don't have access to internet, speak to them as well. They're your little cousins, just like yourself. If you see some, ask your cousin, hey, how are you feeling? You understand? Have you been feeling? It's just about talking about these things. We have to discuss these issues.
Yes.
We can't keep quiet anymore.
And I know you like to put this challenge out there to the gynecologist. And if this girl, because I'm seeing them now at the gynecologist, which I really commend the parents, for actually taking these young ones to the gynecologist. And they start to see it. How would you put this out them, challenge them? If this girl keeps coming, run more tests. Is that something you would advocate for?
I would definitely recommend. If a girl is coming to you with pain that is not normal, with irregular periods, with acne that is not normal
No more.
acne.
This is also the
Please,
dermatologist and even the
yes,
GP,
even
the
the
general
dermatologist,
practitioners,
even
yes.
the general practitioner. Let's just not follow the book.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just not follow the book because things have changed since back in the day. Yes?
Have they changed,
Our
or is it
diet.
that women's health just was never
Yeah, that's what I'm
addressed?
saying. Things have changed. Let's
Mm-hmm.
not go by the book. Things have changed. Let's investigate, right, women's issues because we understand. And gynecologists understand, by the way. That's why they're treating us. They know there's PCOS.
They know there's
They know
PCOS,
there's
yes.
PCOS, right? So let us have that as part of the test. Again, that's what I'm saying. The medical field, the government, the payer, right, of the insurance.
Right.
Let us try and see, okay, can we capture these things early enough? So that if I teach this 11 or 12-year-old,
So as she gets older, she will learn to manage
she
it.
will learn to manage it.
And
That's why I will
maybe
not
even
have...
at a point where
Yes.
she wants to become a mom,
Exactly. It's not
she
a
knows it's not a
problem.
problem.
Yes,
that's
it's not a
now when
problem.
she's going to find out and try to figure out how.
Exactly.
And if you're doing this at 35, by the time you're 40, by the time you're figuring it out,
And you know, habits, again, habits.
Yes.
If this
It
child
takes
knows
time.
now, I'm not the child who has the luxury of eating whatever the hell I want to eat whenever I want to eat it, then she will build that as a habit. And it's easier from when you were young
yes.
than when you're 35 again. And
because that it becomes a habit.
yes, it
and
becomes a
becomes
habit.
natural.
Yes, it becomes
Yes.
natural.
It's not
That's
something
to me,
you
that's
have
my
to
biggest
fight.
wish.
Yes.
Because I struggled a lot with changing my diet. So that was my biggest wish. Why? I always ask that question, why didn't these people find this out? When I was still younger, when I didn't think of food, my relationship with food was not...
It was not formed
Yes,
yet.
it was not completely formed yet.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not difficult because look at this young kids right now, 10, 11, 12, yes, into climate change and whatnot.
And
They're all
everything,
vegans
yes.
and vegetarians. And whatnot.
vegetarians
So it's
and-
something you can form when you're
Early,
young,
yeah.
when you have the why behind it, because they are becoming vegans and vegetarians when we're looking at them thinking, oh my God, I can't live as a vegan, live without meat completely. What?
How? I have 40-something years I've been eating meat. What are you
We
telling
will
me?
still survive. We've survived a billion years. So we'll just still find a way to
We'll be
survive.
fine.
But
Yes.
for them, because it is something they are growing with, yes, they're growing up with a narrative that climate change is a problem. You
So for them,
understand?
it's
So to
easy.
them now, because they have their why, they are changing their diets naturally. My goddaughter, we always have war with her. She's like, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating this. I've brought for like a dissertation on why
she's not
we should not be
eating
eating this.
something.
You get?
So start
So
early.
imagine if that child who has the same mentality, because us guys at 11, we were kids, we didn't know nothing. But this lot these days, they
It's
are
different.
humans,
They're
little
humans.
they're little adults.
know
Yes, they
way
know
more
way
than
more.
we did.
So imagine
Yes.
if that child, you gave that child a why behind the reason
The
why
reason.
yes, the reason why their diet has to be
be
a
much
certain
easier
way.
to manage.
She'll carry it throughout,
Yeah.
which means she'll have less issues with insulin than I would,
Than you
which
did,
means
yeah.
her hormones might not be raging all over the place like mine were. And she might not have these cysts like we
That
do
we do, yeah.
that are making even her ovaries heavy. Maybe hers would just be normal.
Yeah, it's very true. Veronica, thank you so much for talking to us about PCOS,
Thank you for
sharing your
having me.
knowledge, women's health. I know you beg on health, especially women's health, advocating for women's health, advocating for our own health as
Yes.
women, because we really don't do that.
Yeah, we
So
don't.
thank you so much. I can't wait to have.
Thank you,
I think
you,
we
Anna.
should push this further. I think we
Yes.
said we should have this conversation the next time now with a gynecologist, so
Yes,
she can
let's
bring
have
the
it with the
medical
gynecologist.
perspective.
Yes,
yes.
and we can have the medical perspective because, of course, I don't like being in the admin health, but I try not
Yes,
to.
so this was more
say
about the
yes,
experience
exactly.
and what you have
Yes,
experienced.
yes,
Yes.
and that's what I was trying not to mention some
All of
medication.
that,
Yes, so that
yes.
at least somebody with that medical knowledge can now just put a
Just
stamp
kind of
on
put
it.
a stamp on it and the medical. So
Yes.
this was more about your experience, what you've
Yes.
gone through, and what you've learned. So I hope you learned from Veronica today. I know I have. So much information. She shared her story, what she went through, her struggles. And what I would urge every woman listening to this today is advocate for your own health. Let's normalize going to the doctor and getting tests done even when there's nothing wrong, because this is how things are found. Extreme pain during your periods is not normal. Fatigue is not normal. Heavy bleeding is not normal. So let's get it checked out. See your gynecologist, see your doctor. And if you like what you hear, would like to hear more, please subscribe, share this podcast. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.